This video is brought to you by my new album entitled Dougal's Treats. It's full of hummable melodies, bluesy riffs and the occasional bit of virtuoso flashy stuff as well. If you enjoy bluesy rock guitar with memorable tunes and solos that wail like a banshee, then check out the links in the description. The premium version includes all of the tabs for each tune, videos and jam tracks as well. Thanks for listening, now on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. That was me jamming over the little jam track we've been putting together for the past few weeks in this series of Wednesday videos where basically, as you may already know, we're looking at the basics of home recording. By the way, the guitar I was using there was not mine, belongs to a friend of mine who's loaned it to me to make a couple of videos with, full review coming on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. But back to the matter at hand, the main difference between the jam track, as you just heard it there, and what it sounded like in subsequent weeks is that, well, the more observant of you probably already noticed that there is a Hammond organ that comes in about halfway through. So that is what we're looking at today, how to add keyboard parts to a piece that you're putting together in Reaper or Cubase or Logic or whatever DAW you use. Here's the information. Okay, here's the project we've been working on, and our task for today is to insert some Hammond organ into proceedings. Just brief recap on what we've got. We've got the drums up here on this track. That's the bass. We've got double-tracked acoustic guitar here, double-tracked clean electric guitar here, and double-tracked kind of crunchy electric guitar here for some power chord shenanigans towards the end of the tune. You'll see, if you look at the blocks of drums, there are 4 8-bar blocks. And each subsequent 8-bar chord sequence, if you like, I'm adding another element. So the first time through the chord sequence, we've just got drums, bass and acoustic guitar. The second time through we've got drums, bass, acoustic guitar and clean electric guitar. On the final time through we've got drums, bass, double-tracked acoustic, double-tracked clean electric and double-tracked crunchy power chord stuff. So it's in this section here where I'm going to add the Hammond organ, which will then continue through to the end. So once again, how we do this in Reaper, first thing I'm going to use is a track folder. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, then reference last week's video. All of these videos are linked in the description. So I'm just going to double click into this area here, you saw me do that, and I'm going to label this track here organ. There we go. Now I do have a pedal, an electro harmonics pedal, which basically I can play the guitar into and out pops a Hammond organ sound at the other end. But my playing isn't anywhere near tidy enough for that pedal to work efficiently. I always get stray notes and stuff, so I've sort of reverted in recent times to programming the organ in Midi. So what I need to do now is in this area here is right click and insert virtual instrument on new track. and the one that I use is this one here, Euthymia electronic organ. We're going to add that, and that will put this onto a track down here. And you can see there are various, if I just expand this, there are various different presets here. Jimmy Smith, Brian Auger, Joey DeFrancesco, Our Brother, Big Ben, loads of things here, but I just tend to leave it on the Jimmy Smith sound. And then there's some extra processing I'm going to do to it subsequently that will basically make it sound all, well, the way I want it, really. So all I need to do now is on this track here, and I've only got one track in the folder so far, but on this track here I'm going to create a new MIDI track that is 8 bars long, and I tend to use the drum blocks as a gauge for this. So I'll just come out of there. Let's just do that. So down here, let's get into that track there, and I think that should be about right. Yes, so I've got 8 bars of a selection there of 8 bars, and into that selection I go insert new MIDI item, make sure we're on the correct track, insert new MIDI item, there we go, and I now have a blank MIDI item here that is going to become the Hammond organ. So I double click into this, and that takes me into the MIDI editor, and as you can see, we've got this piano keyboard, this piano roll up here, and that basically tells me what notes correspond to which of these horizontal lines going across. You can see there's the MIDI item there that's sort of highlighted, I guess. And the first chord in the sequence is an E minor. So I need, let's go for an E root note. Maybe you can see up here in this little box here, the note names are displayed as I'm kind of going up and down like that. So I'm just going to go for E5, which is the 5th E note up the keyboard. There we go. And I can just put an E note in there, and that E note is the root note of the E minor chord, which lasts for the whole bar. So I stretch that out to fill that whole bar. Then I also know that the notes in an E minor chord are E, so I've got that. Let's go up here till I hit the G, and we'll put the G note in, and then let's go up and find a B, because that is the next note in an E minor chord. So there we've got E, G, and B. Okay. And then I'm just going to go through the rest of the chord sequence now. I'll probably speedy up this little part of the footage to do this, but putting in the subsequent chords of a D chord in this bar, a C in this bar, G and D in this bar, and so on until we've got the entire chord sequence mapped out. So yeah, let's speed up, shall we, and go. Right, there we have our chord sequence all mapped out in MIDI here, and that's an E minor chord, that's a D chord, that's a C chord, G to a D, E minor again, C, A minor to like an F sharp minor 7 flat 5, or F sharp half diminished, then into a B chord there. And basically we can now hear what that sounds like. Let's play that through. So yeah, I'm happy with that, and what we'll do now is add a little bit of processing to that and just make it sound a little bit more human, I guess. So let's come out with the MIDI editor, and what I'm going to do now is, this is the track here which the MIDI is programmed onto. I'm just going to right click here and duplicate that track. There we go. So now I've got two identical tracks with the same MIDI performance on, and they're both feeding into this organ track here. I'm going to use a little bit of fake double tracking now, where I'm basically going to pan this all the way to the left, and then this all the way to the right, and then into this right pan track, or you could do it on the left one. I'm going to add a little bit of ADT, auto double tracking, basically, which is just a single repeat delay with the wet signal, i.e. the echo, turned up to kind of unity gain, or kind of as loud as the dry signal. The dry signal is turned off, and I've got 35 milliseconds of delay between them. So what that effectively means is I get the same performance on this track and on this track. It's just that this one happens 35 milliseconds later. They're panned left and right, and that will sound like this. So, subtly different, but it is now a nice stereo track. The next thing I'm going to do is just make it sound a little bit more rock. So I'm going to go into I've just noticed I spelled organ wrong there. Let's put that right. There we go. I'm going to go into the effects tab for this parent track here, and I'm going to add guitar rig. Now, if I was going for the full-on John Lord Deep Purple organ sound, I'd probably use like a Marshall amp sim, an old JTM 45 or a Plexi or something like that to run it through. But I'm not going to do that. First thing I need to do though is make sure that guitar rig is running in stereo by clicking there. And then I go into the components, and we get modulation, and there is a fantastic Leslie cabinet simulator here just called Rotator, and I add that to the track, and now let's have a listen to what that's done. Which is very much the kind of sound I'm going for. I would say my favourite rock organ sound is Danny Federici's sound that he gets on Springsteen's Hungry Heart. That's what I have in me head as a benchmark of the kind of organ sound I'm going for, and that for me just approximates it really nicely. So that's how we input a little bit of Hammond, or how I input a little bit of Hammond organ into an existing track. So that shows you how you can block out some basic chords, which was enough for that jam track. But if you want to make more of a feature of the keyboard part, the sky's the limit. It takes more time, and there's a little bit more kind of fiddling around involved. But here's a little bit of an organ solo from a track that I did about 15 years ago. Each and every note you're going to hear in this little clip here began life as a mouse click. So, you can get some pretty convincing results if you're prepared to put in the time. The main thing that you've got to do, if you're just interested in blocking out the basic chords, is, of course, you need to know what notes are in the chords. I've covered that many, many times. Let me know if you want any more content on that, but otherwise I'm going to assume that it's something that you're okay with. By the way, there is a full tab for that solo that kicked off the video in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with the jam track in its current state, and the clip of me playing the solo. That kind of explanation gubbins that you just saw there. And I'll tell you what I'll do. That track that has the organ solo on it that you heard a snippet of just now, I'll put that up on Patreon as well. As I say, it's all up on Patreon. There's the address, link in the description. $3 or about £3 a month gets you access to all of these additional goodies that go along with these YouTube videos. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone who supports me in that or any of the other ways, all of which are in the description. That's pretty much it for today. Next week we're going to move on to the whole process of mixing. I'll show you how I go about doing that. As with all of these things, it's not the definitive way to do it. It's just a way that through trial and error and picking up tips and tricks from other people that I've found works for me. So, you know, if I can pass that on, that's all to the good. But that's it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful and informative in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. Beer and chat on a Friday. That's all it is. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, but above all, stay sane. Bye for now.